The same today. Hello, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good day, good night. Welcome to today's class, and today, live class, where we'll be looking at the course um, management in logistics and transport, and also we'll be looking at the chapter topic, people's management. It's actually a long course. Given the time I have, God will give me the grace and give us the grace to finish it in one class. Of course, if we can't finish it, of course, we'll put to be continued. All right. Um, Let me share my screen so we will look at it together. People's management. Of course, in other words, you can call it human resource management. That is what it means. Human resource management. Of course, the term to people management means to manage people. Um, to set plan to plan for people who are coming to organization, to direct them, to coordinate them, to motivate them to work. These are the entire concept of what we talk about people management as a whole within organization. Of course, because people generally are the reasons why um, most of the major resources you have in organization are well organized. Like I used to say, we have 4M that are majorly the major tools that organization need. For instance, I talk about machine, materials, money. Of course, you need M, the last M, which is man, to manage the entire concept of an organization. So this course is more commonly referred to as what we call human resource management, and it's also a very vital component of any form of management. Whether you're a manager or not, it is very important that this you understand what the course is generally and everything. Of course, let's look at people management as a matter of introduction. Um, During the Industrial Revolution, they have a concept of treating human being like a machine, mechanical. What is seen generally is man is seen, or workers are seen as glorified slave. They are put in patterns, they are put in, series of places where they can actually work. But now we've seen different metamorphoses in terms of management on people. All right, where um, things are changing, things are moving. Of course, in the early 50s to 60s, we saw the concept of personnel management, where all human beings are, people within the organization are treated, you know, as as just one. As just one. But right now, in the concept of human resource management, all humans are treated individually based on what they bring home. So today, you look at training. Even in managing of people, we see that training is actually required. Training and development is required as key for human resource management, and also people it's also why training is also required that people sometimes can go for refresher training. People can be trained to fit into new environment of working. All right, so that is what we have. So generally, if you remember when we talk about organization and managing organization. Okay, this is not the class I was talking about where we looked at where we say there's a man called Chasandi. He defines organizational structure, organization generally as how we do work around here. But of course, there's one insightful quote he made um, when he was defining the industrial organization. He said organization are not just machine, even though some managers or some CEOs run them like machines. So running them would, dearly love to be like so, like this a machine. But um, organizations are communities of people that they will behave just like any other community. So within the organization, people will want to compete within themselves for either power, resources, fame, and the rest. and there are different opinion, and I mean from where they come from, they have different opinion, they have different value, their conflicts of priorities and their goals that they came into the organization with. And those who want to change and those who there are people who come in and they are willing to actually change to meet what the organization wants, and there are those who want to be adamant and still remain how they want to be. All right. There are groups of people who want to become a member republic. There are cliques, there are cabals, there are rivals, there are contests. There are also clashes of personality and bond of alliance. Now, this is how Charles Andy saw what an industrial organization looks like. And of course, it's not different from today. So you realize that um, as a manager, you need to try to do your best to bring people together, to integrate them, to align them into one purpose. Because in 1954, Peter Drucker first said that that's about half of a century ago, and the statement still remains valid today, that management is concerned with systematic organization of economic resources, its task, and this resource and how these resources becomes productive over time. So now, when we look at managing people, we look at the concept of leadership. All right. And when you talk about leadership, leadership as a definition is actually an act of influencing others, all right, in a particular direction or in a particular way. So there are different agents that will come in terms of defining what a leader is. But we realize that one general uh, belief or accepted definition of leadership is your ability to influence a group of people, not coerce, like we see in today's workplace within Nigeria, where staff are mainly coerced to work, but leadership is not seen in the management of people. All right. So there are different forms of leadership actually. Can have democratic form of leadership where the person in life is fair. There is there's also an autocratic form of leadership where if you are dealing with lazy people, they need to be coerced to work. They need to be threatened to work. But of course, threats, yeah, work for lazy people. But in today's world, it's not a thing that one will look at and want to accept that must be the main thing to go for leadership. All right. Um, Now, one of the reasons why most people want to say, okay, look, I want to be dictator or autocratic is that one. Um, it is mainly seen when you see dictator form or characteristics. It's when you see that mainly where the leader lacks confidence, where you see the leader um, possess fear of losing face if they don't go hard on the people. You see autocratic or dictatorship within an organization where the person in question is also scared or has a fear that he or she might lose their job if they don't come out on you. And of course, inferiority complex is actually a total summary that becomes of why a leader may behave autocratic or dictatorial. That is, they are generally secure as it comes, as we can see. So generally, leadership is actually different from a manager. No, like you can see from the screen that first you see a leader. A leader is one that produces change and movement. But why you see a manager is one who produces orders and consistency. All right. Um, if you're looking at the elections of 2023, but of course in 2022, the build-up of these elections, you saw an organic movement where somebody is going for a candidate called Peter Obi, because that becomes a movement that we want to produce change. Leaders also have the character of knows how to deal with change, but why you see managers who want to look at dealing with status quo, managers who want to work in the system. Leaders are people who want to work on the system. Managers react, leaders create opportunities. Managers control risk, leaders seek opportunities. Managers enforce organization rules. Um, but leaders change organization rules to suit um, means and method they can actually influence. Managers seek and then follow direction, but you look at the leader, a true leader will always provide vision and belief, and also create a strategic alignment for people within the organization. Also, one key thing also that you see as the character of a leader is the leader motivate people by satisfying their basic human needs. While you look at the manager, they control people by pushing them, all right, either in the right or wrong directions. And sometimes it's by threatening the hell out of those people. But of course, you can give managers they could do that, they coordinate effort. But why this one strives to use muscle to coordinate effort? Leaders want to inspire achievements and energize people to work. Now, these are some of the difference between a manager and leader. Of course, you look at let's look at the concept of what recruiting team. Now, for every organization, you look at bringing people in to the organization, and of course, you want to recruit because recruitment is key. As a manager of an organization, there's a need for you to find a way to strategically look at how do I get the best way to recruit staff into my organization. Now, these are some of the things that you as a manager want to look at. You as a manager is looking at, okay, how do I get the right team? The question is getting the right team. Remember, when you look at right, is about what are the rights? I mean, how do I get the right people to come into my organization? But when you recruit, you don't want to recruit people that will come and jeopardize the vision you have for your organization. You don't want to recruit people that will not buy into your vision. So it is important that when you're recruiting staff into your organization, you have to you need to show the that the organization have the best in mind to choose the best person for the role that they are employing them for. And sometimes this is done irrespective of whether or not it could be a family member or friends maybe apply. But sometimes business is business. You don't bring family into business. So for organization to improve, they must try to select the best available for the role in question. Because if you don't have the right people there, of course, sorry, nothing will nothing will be done. Nothing will get done. All right. So, and of course, if nothing is get done, it means if you are bringing somebody with the wrong quality, it means failure is inevitable within the organization. So before you go ahead to say you want to recruit somebody into position, there's one thing you must do. You must try to see first that you must identify, you must assess, analyze the role to be filled. All right, so that you can accurately determine the quality and skills that you need, um, and the potential of the person that will need to come in must be evaluated. So if the role is unlikely, or sometimes sometimes the roles changes in the future, and if the role is unlikely to change, it means you have your work clear cut to understand this is the kind of person I'm looking for. So if the organization feels or knows that the role is likely to change, it may be more prudent for them to seek or recruit a good person that we call organization fit. Now, when we talk about a good person organization fit, we're talking about people that buys into the vision of the organization. Now, because if you bring a person that is, the person that is job fit, is fit for the job, but of course, is not fit for any future change that might occur within the organization. There are two things. There's what we call job fit and organization fit. The person who is job fit might be fit for that organization, and if the role change in the organization, the person might not be able to adapt to the change that might come in within the organization as a whole. So when you recruit, there's a need for you to analyze detailed analysis of the individual, especially when you're doing organization fit role, the individual that you are recruiting. You need to assess the person, the work of the person carefully, and also check the dynamics and understand his role, that if he can be aligned to teams within the organization that you're bringing the person to. So it is important to select the right person first and foremost when you're bringing them into your team when you're recruiting. Of course, there are so many ways you can actually recruit people. You can have what we call the face-to-face interview, with the person you're bringing in. You can decide to, when we talk about face-to-face interview, is actually one of the most common way of recruiting people, selecting people to work today. But you must know that everything has an advantage, may also have an disadvantage, because sometimes it might be time consuming to go through the people, and sometimes it might cost money to make this recruitment come to be. Of course, there are different technicalities that comes when you look at you recruiting the right person for your organization. All right. So when you talk about recruitment, it is key, it is constant, it's the first step in your human resource management and recruitment. And of course, if you know you can recruit, or you will be biased, or you don't understand the concept of, we're going to discuss that later. Understanding human ability to understand the person you're dealing with, you can actually contact an HR a specialist to help you recruit the right person for your organization, because sometimes these are specific work that can be done by a private individual when you're recruiting your team. All right. And here we talk about team building. It's one thing to recruit your team, it's another thing for you to understand, how do I build my team? As we noted earlier, we said people are different, and this fact alone means that teams, even those that are made up of people with similar skills, will be made up of a group of people with individual specialization, that they have their specialization, they have their likes, they have their dislikes, they have their aptitudes. All right, and this they will form part of the team. So part of the art of management is to utilize all the skills from within your team, the where and when required, for benefit of the whole organization. Now, if we accept that a team is a group of people, then we must consider that two principal type of groups uh, will exist in a workplace. And this type of groups are known as either homogeneous, like the word is, or heterogeneous. Now, when we talk about homo, it means these are a group of people who are made up of the same character, the same belief, the same specialization. They actually have one common goal. Of course, within that same organization, we can have people who are heterogeneous, maybe because they are coming from different background, um, different orientation, different way of doing things, forming a team. And of course, there's a need for you to find a way to build these people as a team. Now, when we talk about a team, if you look at this diagram here, the diagram shows a picture of two different type of groups. All right, when we talk about the homogeneous and the heterogeneous thing. All right, and you can see that the heterogeneous, that they are divided. There's no unity of purpose within the team, from this graph was saying. And of course, they have what unites them is not there. Like the homogeneous might have something that unite them as the core, something like their value. They share the same culture, they share the same belief. All right, and of course, if they share the same thing, or those values, they work as an effective team. But an heterogeneous team tends to be, isolation. Everybody is working in silo, and because everybody is working in silo, they have different culture, they have different value, they have different belief. Uh, there will be tend to be conflict within the organization. Then, of course, when we talk about teams, we'll see talking about teams and team building. We explain what we talk about homogeneous group, that they are group that have similar views, they are groups with similar beliefs, they are groups with similar values, and the group members are likely to enjoy themselves, and they are likely to be more effective than an heterogeneous group that are working in silos and in isolation of themselves. Now, if you, well, of course, the ceremony will be one thing that will be in an heterogeneous group. So issues, a heterogeneous team. So issues will always arise, and those issues that will be arise need to be closely monitored. And of course, when it arises, it should be decisively dealt with, especially where an issue will become factor that might likely to affect the overall team performance. An example could be like somebody in the group having hidden agenda. There's what we call group anxiety. There's what we call sometimes negative group thinking. So these are things that can affect the group. And of course, as a manager, there's a need for you to decisively deal with it and also work efficiently well. Sorry, I'm coming. Hello. All right, sorry for the breaking transmission. So we're talking about different group working together, and of course, because they come from different backgrounds. Now, one way to actually allow group work effectively together is to get a concept of what we call a self-directed work team. All right, a self-directed work team um, does not really mean that a department trying to see if this thing is coming up, and also because the self-directed work team is usually a small group of people, not necessarily taken from the same department, but they are ready to, I mean, they were ready to work together on the project and then disband when the project is done. And this is very fair. I mean, it's an effective type of team, and it has the characteristics as one. Um, a self-directed work team will show a characteristic of organize. I mean, it organizes itself. It prioritizes work. They make good decision. I mean, and of course, the team will always want to manage itself. But one of other optional characters is that the team may work without immediate supervision and may select, hire, and promote and discharge its members. So, for a self-directed work team to be effective, it must have a clear purpose which is understood by, and every member and be, I mean, will be what we call result oriented. So it needs a strong leader who participate fully, and individual strength of each member must be seen to be recognized. So this is another way of actually blending an heterogeneous team together using a self-directed work team to organize themselves, prioritize work, and of course, it allows members of different work team to know more about these other parts, and of course, they can actually overall work effectively. So, for one key factor for a success of a self-directed work team is that, or any team, I mean, it actually they must have a concept of effective communication, both within the team and also externally. Effective communication is actually paramount, as also mutual trust and support among members of the team. And all members must be passionate and enthusiastic about the project that they are undertaking. Now, one question is asked that in a self-directed work team, who should be on the team? Now, team members should be a clone of yourself. I mean, like a balanced team needs a variety of individuals who possess a variety of skills and can make a variety of contributions to ensure a higher chance of achieving the goal. So, a typical self-directed work team might be, I mean, contain uh, the following people, like e.g., you have a manager, uh, you have a technique. I mean, somebody who manages the team like a leader. You can have, like you see on the chart, a conceptual thinker. You have a radical within the group. You have a technical person within the group. You have a diplomat within the group. Now, these are kinds of people. You have a planner. You have an observer. These groups are very key in any team. These are characteristics of people who will be in the group. All right. And these things, all these characters are characters that needs to be blended together to become a team. Of course, when they are blended together, uh, there are teams that they can make the team unique. And of course, the strength of the team now becomes the diversity of the team. Having a manager, have a planner, have an observer, have a thinker, have a radical within the group. All those are very effective. So now question still remains Now, in the self-directed work team, you have to say, how does team evolve? Now, these characters put together will start from stage one, the forming. Now, where members of the team will get to know each other and accept that they are working together despite their diversity, despite their different beliefs. We have the second stage, which is the storming. The storming is actually it means that it's a way of shuffling their position, and of course, people they discuss within themselves, and of course, that discussion sometimes in other time could be argument within themselves, and of course, in order to find a best way or the best way to tackling the project or the case at hand or the challenge at hand. Then, of course, the team will also evolve through the concept of stage three, which is after they've come from forming, they are storming by arguing and discussing. They will now evolve to what we call norming. Norming is a process or a stage where they've gotten understanding of themselves and a balance has been found of norms and behavior that are established. All right. Forming the team is just like you coming into marriage, where you come to know yourself together, which is forming. You get to understand yourself as husband and wife during courtship. Then the first year and second year of the business, of marriage, you are fighting together. Then by the time you get to the third year of marriage, you already know you're already getting the balance, understand my weakness, understand that if this woman is talking, I'm not fine. I'm not gonna, I'll just keep my mouth shut to allow the sleeping dog lie. Then of course, same thing in the team, you go to a stage, the first stage, which is performing. Of course, after understanding your behavior, understanding the norms within yourself, you go to the area of performing, the team become mature and learns how to handle complex challenge. Of course, marriage is not marriage set or after like 4 years, you get to understand yourself perfectly. Then the stage 5 is the adjourning. All right. Once the goal has been achieved, the team breaks up, we've done work, and this needs same handling as team building. So these are some of how you get your team evolved from one stage to another. Like we said earlier, effective communication is important in any team. And of course, from this structure you see on the stage, you will look at, we see the fact that what have you? These are different form of communication within a team. You can have a mesh communication, all right, where everybody, all right, gets information at a random point. You have a tree communication where information flow from the top down and down up. You have a star communication where information comes from the central and distributed to everywhere. Every part of the structure of the organization. Now you have a linear communication chain within the team communication. Like we said, the mesh, all members, we're talking about all mesh, they talk to get themselves, they combine knowledge available together. There are fewer steps of transformation. But they start the team communication they communicate through one another. Usually the leader as the center of information. Information can be interpreted or modified before being passed to the team. Good and simple task control. The leader may have too much power because it becomes the center of the decision. A linear, commonly used for but ineffective structure. The result is poor team working. It has that also disadvantage. But the three form of communication is common in companies that are organized by function. Usually, when tasks are responsible are subdivided, information passed up and down the tree according to preset rules, and danger that information will be distorted in that, especially when the tree chain is actually long, then of course can have disadvantage of what we call a poor team, working culture. Then we can have we can look at this other concept of different team roles you have in an organization. We can have what we call an implementer within a team. This person is actually practical organizer. He is thorough. He's a good. He's a good planner. He schedules a lot, and of course, it has its own strength. One of the strengths of an implementer within a team is the fact that common sense. The person in question is self-discipline. He has the ability to transform discussion into practical steps because he owns action. He's not looking at talk. But of course, one of the weaknesses it might be lack of flexibility. And of course, it's either my way or your way. Leave it. You talk too much. That's what you get in people like that. There's a tendency to be unresponsive. All right, to unproven ideas that are experimented. Then you have also um, within a team, the chair. In this character are good organizers who have the capacity of treating and welcoming all potential contribution on their merit without prejudice. But it has a strength, like a strong, yeah, the strength of this character or this individual is that he has strong sense of objective. It has they have the ability to sum up group achievements. Um, they are disciplined. They have a good they are good at working with other people. That's the chair. But of course, one they have this characteristic of they lack creative ability, and they have a tendency to be reserved because they want to do good by all men. You know. Then you have a shaper within the team. What is the work of a shaper? The shaper pushes decision forward, looks for the best course of action, tends to be an extrovert, and also is passionate about the task that itself within the team role. And the strength of this person is that they have a strong drive. Um, Challenges are inertia and ineffective to their own self. One of the weaknesses they have is their tendency to be, they have a high tendency to be, provoked easily, and they can be impatient. You know, when you look at people who have this character because they are extroverts in nature, in turn. So we have the innovator in the team. Now, the innovator provides creative input to the team, uh, which has the strength of they have good source of ideas. They are often high intellectuals, but their weakness is that they lack self-discipline. They play too much, trust me. And of course, I know some example, and me. Tendency to lose interest once initial fascination has passed. That is one of the characteristics of the innovator within the team. And of course, we have somebody who monitors, and we call them evaluators. All right, what they do is that um, they analyze suggestions from within and outside the team and also evaluate feasibility in terms of, come, let's bring it to reality. You should say this thing will work. I know you are saying, let's bring it to reality. Of course, that is where the analytical, they have strong analytical skills. They are they have discretion and the objective. They have ability to spot flaws within the team. And one of the weaknesses that they lack inspiration. They have tendency to be overcritical of a thing. Most of us hate them within an organization. I'm not going to bring an idea come, but of course not analyze. These are people like that within a team. Then of course we have what we call the team workers. Now the team worker, these primarily are people who are concerned with team maintenance, and in perspective of feeling that they need to concern. We look at them as welfare of the group. All right, and they have the ability to respond to people and situation. They promote team spirit. They are supportive. They are understanding. They are diplomatic. But one of their weaknesses is they have the tendency to avoid conflict. They are indecisive in moment of crisis because they are people pleaser because they want to look at people and see them through, not to cause conflict. So of course we have the finisher. Now finisher helps the team to meet deadlines by attending to details and following things through. You know, they have the ability to push colleagues to finish things. They check for errors. They basically go through works that has been given to them. You know, one thing that they have as with disadvantage, I've worked with some of them, I'm working with one now, is that they are reluctant to let go. They have a tendency to worry about small things that, madam, you don't do it, it won't work. They want to actually look at it and no, let's do it like that. They are this kind of people to ensure that they pay attention to details that is going on. So those are the kind of people you jam or people you meet within a team. Now, of course, you have a team, there's a need for you to train a team and develop that team, you know, to achieve um, what the organization wants to achieve. Because once you have recruited somebody into the team, it is always good that you train them, all right, so that they can think as one and develop them. Because we live in a period of constant change. And because the changes are constant within the organization environment, there's a need um, for ever increasing and constant training and retraining of individuals or teams within an organization. So managers and leaders or head of organization will need to be trained, all right, to better operate maybe any new role or perform any new task. Now, in training and developing your staff, firstly, there is need for you to um, make a distinction, a clear distinction to be made. It is important on the nature and the type of training. And it's important that you appreciate the training and development are not um, different from what used to are same as with it. I mean, training refers. So you appreciate that training and see the training as investment. It is clearly because these days people feel training not be no does do harm. But the truth is, training is key to any organization. Either you're doing an upgrade training, you're doing a refresher training, you're doing a recruit, I mean, an indoctrination training. It is important that the organization understand the kind of training they want to give the organization, because training itself, by definition, refers to teaching skills relevant to the performance of the current role, perhaps in the form of refresher training, or for the teaching new skills due to changes in role, perhaps due to technological advancements. All right. These are some of the reasons why you look at training, teaching skills relevant to performance of current roles for any individual within the organization. So, and also development refers to teaching someone a new skill for maybe a change in role, or in order for them to progress up the upper echelon, develop them. Training is actually, teaching them skills, maybe new skill. This one is developing them to go up. So these are the difference between training and development. This is the definition of training, and that's the definition of development. So once you understand you know the kind of training you want to give, first understand that there's a difference between training and development. All right, training and development are two different things. So when we talk about training, training is sometimes forms a reason for staff motivation, because every staff is looking at the form of how they can actually develop themselves. And when you train your staff, it's a means of motivating them, all right, to do more. So as you are a manager, you are like a manager, that you must understand that every manager is seeking to train or develop either themselves or their team. All right. And in order to do that, they must find a way to select the most appropriate training and development and intervention, all right, method, in order to meet the agreed aims and objectives of the training development. Sometimes this means you want to select solutions that has been seen as less attractive by some team members, but sometimes you're looking at overriding the consideration um, that must be while you are looking at meeting their personal training and development needs. And all these are actually paramount. So there's a need for you to understand. See, training is key in every organization. Like you coming for this course is a form of training and development. Some of you, your organization is paying you to do this do this course. Some of you train yourself because you are looking at developing yourself to meet future challenges that might come in as a result of you doing the job. So training is a form of motivation. Motivation to do work, motivation to work. All right. So I say, in the words of Avis Jones, when he talks to motivation in 1988, he says, with the best in the world and the best board and the best strategic direction in the world, nothing will happen unless everyone down the line understand what they are trying to achieve and give their best to achieve it. Now, this statement is true, all right, because it was made from a manager's perspective. So, as a manager, a part of your role is to ensure that your team give their best to the task in hand in order to assist you to do that which you understand and what you want to drive your team members to do. In short, you will need to understand how they need to be motivated to work. So there are different motivational theory to motivate staff to work. And of course, there are terms of the concept of the theory that look at incentive and intrinsic. We have a motivational theory that talks about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, where Abraham Maslow in 1954 developed the Maslow hierarchy of needs. I and we have what we call the Isbeck theory of hygiene. Um, and you have a theory like the X and Y model of I don't want to mix it with this biologist. So there are different theory that you have in terms of motivation to work. But every organization comes up with what they feel becomes a best for their own organization to do what they need to do. Now, I'm going to post it on the group for you to see and understand what I talk about the Maslow hierarchy of needs. You see, it's a pyramid. It's a pyramid. Let me see if I can display the pyramid. I want to display the pyramid for you to see so that you understand what I mean when I am talking about the hierarchy of needs. But of course, why that is coming, let me talk about what they call the Isberg theory of hygiene. That one, Isberg on his own theory looked at the concept of that for a staff to work, environment must motivate a staff to go to work every day. And what Isberg did was to say, look, um, I have the environment where staff will work in terms of, you know, so that when the environment where staff work matters. That's for us. Of course, the staff environment must be neat enough, clean, and because if it is clean, some of them would like to work in a very clean environment where it's properly light up, there's space, uh, and that's the motivation that gives a corporate image and a corporate perspective, a corporate image that I am ready to work. I'm ready to do what um, I can do. I'm trying to see if I can share my screen. I'm trying to pull that up right now so I can show you this Maslow hierarchy of needs. Um, so now Isbeck talks about hygiene, but Maslow on his own construe a idea that everybody has a different need. That first and foremost, it's in the pyramid, the base of the pyramid, you have what we call your psychological need. That we can't grow up, or guy, you meet my psychological need before we look at you meeting what I call the next need of human being. I always say psychological need. We talk about the need for food, the need for shelter, the need for clothing, the need for the basic need of human being. That's what we're talking about. They talk about after that need is satisfied in the lower level. The next level of need in the pyramid is what? Safety. Now, safety needs we're talking about, okay, the guy has come into the organization, we're able to give him a salary that can give him food, he can rent a house, an apartment, he can buy clothes. Now, when that person is okay with that level, in the work the person is doing, the person now looks at the next thing is safety. The safety he's talking about is either personal security, employment security, health security, resource security. All those are the next stage the person guarantees at the second level of Maslow hierarchy of need. Then, when the person satisfies that level and that need is met, all right, then the person looks at love, belonging to somebody, making friends. The next level, intimacy, starting the family, getting connection, belonging to groups where it can be recognized and title can be given. Now that's the third stage. All right, having longing, that's social acceptability, love and belongings. Then the fourth stage in the hierarchy, which is second to last stage, is having esteem, a self-esteem. Now, while on the job, the person is longing for self-esteem, for respect, for recognition, for freedom, for strength. And these are intrinsic things people look at from monetary, that's the graduation of hierarchy, I mean, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Then to the last stage, which is self-actualization. All right. Here in this stage, individual desire to become the most that they can be, because at that time money is not a problem. They came to the town with nothing, and of course they've graduated to have a house, get a wife, have two houses somewhere in town, get one or two titles somewhere. Of course, get freedom to move where they need to move from nothing to something. Then they have actualization. They need to move out of that place to start a new dream. That is what the motivational theory, I mean, the Maslow theory of need is talking about. Then it's an eye opener when you look at some of these theories as a basis for you as a manager to look at in order to find a way to motivate your staff to work. So some of these theories we look at is known as what we call the content theory, because they focus on the content of why you must motivate your staff, and this includes the factors that will drive behavior of your staff in your workplace. All right. So we'll look at all those other ones the other ones also called the process theories. All right. Maslow is called the content theory. We have another theory called process theory, and these theories are based around how to motivate people to work. Now, Herzberg theory of hygiene is a process theory. Maslow hierarchy of needs is a content theory. Content theory because you are focusing on how the content of motivation. All right, talking about what factors will drive my staff to work. Process theory will look at, the process, how to motivate people to work. All right. So, of course, we have other theories called what we call the expectant theory. Now, other one, to break down the process theory, you have expectant theory. All right, because you have expectant theory, because this expectant is what you as an organization is expecting. Or expect theory, it is based on what will happen, based on the person perception of what will happen to them. For instance, what is the perception of A? What are you expecting based on the perception of A? What are they expecting from the organization? Like, for instance, what we have here on the screen is that if a person A, all right, if a person A perception is that he or she is unable to perform their tasks effectively, perhaps due to lack of skill, experience, tools, or even confidence, then he or she will make the necessary effort to enable their effective performance on that organization. All right. Then, if a person A now knows that an increase in effort will lead to increase in performance, it will follow that now they must also believe that this increase in performance will lead to expected reward. And the term reward could be exchanged in terms of outcome, as it can be both reward and punishment if one perception is that the poor performance may lead to punishment. So it is likely to act as a motivator for them to work. Then you talk about lastly, person A must also believe that the reward will be available. That is the expectation based on their perception. That if the promise of reward or the threat of corrective action has been made previously, then not acted upon, it will be harder for if person A will believe it that, okay, no what, they're not going to ever give me this reward again. Or if I do, they're not going to punish me. All right, based on their perception. Their perception will allow, their perception of if I do this, all right, this will happen. And if I do this, they're expecting this to happen. So my perception is if I want to increase my effectiveness, all right, I do everything to increase my effective performance, and it is done, it means my effective performance will come with a reward. And if I do the reward, that is, if I increase my performance, it means if I work well effectively, my performance on job will work well. And if my performance on the job works well, it should affect the reward or punishment. Now, if I get the reward, my motivation to work more is there. But if I do it, lastly, and at the end of the day, there's no reward, there's no punishment, then next time all of us will start be looking at ourselves that nothing will happen. So this is what we talk about when we talk about the expectancy theory in terms of staff motivation. So if you look at motivation theory, these are some of the theory we have in terms of on the chart you can see on the screen. All right, from expectancy, what you need, what you want to reach, you require your performance, you achieve it. All right, these three major processes income, the relationship between effort and outcome. This is what we are talking about. All right, this is what you see on the chart. So if your effort, all right, you put more effort, all right, you get the required performance you get, and you achieve something, all right, the outcome, all right, if it leads to good reward, you are motivated to work well. If um it does not give you reward and nothing happens and you do it, you have low expectancy, all right, so your motivation is low on the job, and it will affect the outcome of your work. All right, so we'll talk about another theory in terms of the process theory called the equity theory. Now, same thing based on the example we talk about. We'll look at from the screen that relates to what the person A will talk about. Now the person A knows that person B, that's equity theory, receive a reward calculated against what the person A gets themselves, and this information is then measured against person A's judgment of person's A self-worth on the organization. So against person's A perceived worth to the organization of person B. Now, with equity theory, it is important to remember that this can really be applied to what we call extrinsic capability, comparability. And that is to say, things such as salary, car promotion, etc. This is due to the fact that it's almost impossible for anyone to judge how intrinsically satisfied another person will be when you compare how both of us work. For instance, same organization, this is me working, I put in my performance, I put everything. And even though I get the reward, and I look at somebody B who is working, and I look at this person not putting as much work as I do, but is getting the promotion, is getting reward even more than I do. It becomes a demotivation for me not to work, not a motivation to work as against me working. So that's where the equity theory comes into place in the motivation theories we're talking about. All right. So talking about that, you talk about the giving that the level of personal satisfaction is highly individual. Now, the cycle you see on this graph shows how personal individual person can look at if they look at their own goal. All right, they have a passive need, they put in the effort, all right, to achieving the goal, they obtain the reward. Now, the degree of the personal satisfaction is perceived, whether it's it's equal. You have the equal. There's equity, all right, in the entire reward process. So this theory looks at that to adjudge the process of how staff are to be motivated within the organization, because they want to wait and see. Hence, you have the concept of even women telling you, oh, we need to be paid because we're doing the same work like our male counterpart. Why is it that we're not getting paid? All those things are things that can actually demarcate people from being motivated to work or not. All right. It's a cycle. In most organizations, most people would like to tell their staff, please keep your salary secret. No, I don't allow B to move. No. Most organizations do that. They don't openly say the salary or allowances that get to any individual. They tell you keep it to yourself. All right. So many organizations today look at managing performance through a process known as management by objective (MBO). This practice follows what we call the goal theory, because the goal theory relates to the belief that motivation is driven by the need of individual to achieve goal or objective that they have set for themselves. That is why we now bring the concept of the goal theory, which is actually called MBO, management by objectives, bringing the individual goal that they set for themselves and aligning it with the organizational goal, so that at the end of the day, the staff is actually motivated to meet the overall goal he or she wants to achieve. And the motivation is provided by the goal itself, and the thrill of the chase is that, like, okay, this is my goal, I have achieved my goal. For instance, let's say, for example, I have a goal that in the next 5 years, as a fresh graduate, I should have be done with my MSc, and also get chartered in my field of study, and also get 1 or 2 certification while I am on the job. That is an individual goal. And also monetary also thing monetary aspect of it also can look at also I should be able to achieve X and Y in my life pursuit. When I mean my life pursuit, I mean in achieving a house, own a house, own a car, get a property choice of my own. That is my own within the next 5 years. And the organization said, no problem, we can do that. If you do this for us, we can help you with good mortgage that you can be paying over time and get the house of your own. We can give you an official car you can ride on your own. Now this becomes personal objective coming around to work with the organization objective. So management objective, it's actually a thing organization can use to drive performance or manage performance within an organization. So if you look at this diagram that is set out, looking at the goal theory picture, which is the MBA we just spoke about, it gives out each stage. It's looking at the stages in the cycle of individual that will need to be maintained so that their own level of motivation and commitment takes precedence and coming. So you can see from the chart how the individual goals are married together. All right, from you creating your goal, all right, to getting direction and effort on how you can get your goal, increases your performance, affect your performance. Your performance will now lead to the satisfaction with your performance and you get reward. And of course, you look at other things you want to commit to, better awareness and the rest. Either way, the cycle continues to see if I am meeting my goal, and if your organization is meeting your own personal goal, it is you are motivated to work for that organization, and your performance will be enhanced and will be managed. And of course, when you're setting an objective for yourself, whether management by objectives, organizational management, or individual management for your staff, we say it must be SMART. SMART means that it must be specific, the objective must be precise. Measurable means that the outcome needs to be quantified. Achievable means that the objective can easily be achievable. And of course, realistic will tell you that our resources are available to enable the objective that we've set for ourselves, and time bound, of course, the time to meet the set out objective that you want to plan in managing performance within the organization. All right. So all these can help you to understand how you can work. If you start an organization, you start this year, and of course, you set objective for yourself, and the original objective is in line with yours. You carry out different action to meet the objective, and also compare results, analyze your position. Maybe at the end of the year, you do the analysis of your results, and whatever decision you make again will determine the next action you want to do. So step one, you use the beginning of the year. Step two, it's to 6, you use it constantly throughout the year if you're doing managing your performance within your objective. At step 7, the end of the year, which is the final step at the end of the year, you can make analysis and consider, okay, next year, how do I set the next objective for myself that is specific, that is measurable, that is achievable, that is realistic, and is actually time bound. All right. So now organization needs the concept, succession. People come and go in every organization. And of course, if you don't plan for who to succeed you, then of course, it means no matter how good as a leader you are, your tenure is a failure, because a leader without a successor is not a success. So that ends, succession planning is very, very, very important, because not all succession plans are as formalized. Some are smaller. People come and go in the organization, and of course, people retired, and of course, they need to be planned. So to explain the corporate succession planning, we have to set out process in diagram that will show you in the next page of how succession planning will look like. Now, this diagram gives a full detailed plan on how organization can carry out succession planning, because you look at your future workforce, you analyze that. Because you first start your succession planning by identifying and developing potential successors to positions, especially leadership position within the organization. And when you analyze that, the next thing is to look at, okay, in the future, where will we, where should we be? All right. you want to identify the needs, you want to assess the gaps within your organization. Then once that gap is assessed between your current capability and your future needs, there's a need for you go ahead to develop strategies, all right, to close that gap you've assessed. Then once the strategy has been developed, you pick your preferred strategy, then evaluate it using data. Then of course, see how you can develop your current workforce to assess the capabilities you've identified, so that the future your future need or your future workforce need will be met. All right. This is a simple process for an effective succession planning. Of course, succession planning is very, very important in every organization. Very, very important, and there's a need for organization to take it. For it to be key in the entire planning of the organization. So I want to thank you for listening to this course. The course is available on YouTube. I'm going to upload it for those of us who missed today's class. Those who cannot make it, say thank you very much. Please go over your note again. Read. And of course, come at the end of this class, I'm not going to enter chapter 4. I'll take us over again as a revision to chapter 1 through the use of past questions and answers, so that we can be tuned in to the examination fever in no time. So thank you very much for listening, and please have yourself a good night rest, and I'm wishing you success in the examination. Bye-bye. Any question, please don't feel to ask. All right, send it to the WhatsApp group, send it to me directly. I'll be ready to answer your question. All right, bye-bye once again.